Okay, I think we have a good group.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone. I'll go ahead and share my screen. Let's see. Tatiana, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. So hi, everyone. Welcome to our workshop all about getting your plants ready for the spring and summer. My name is Liv, and I am one of the co-founders at Cellar Plants. We started Cellar Plants about 2 years ago. So if you have been with us from the very start, thank you. And if you're new, it's good to see new faces. So I'm here today with Tatiana, who's one of our content creators. Tatiana, if you want to do a little intro.
I'm Tatiana. I'm a content creator. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I'm a plant girl, always been a plant girl. It's very therapeutic. And after a while, you become pretty obsessed. So I've been learning the in and outs of what to do with accidents with your plants, if you knock them over or if you're overwatering. Kind of consider myself a little bit of a plant doctor. So I'm here to help everybody out.
We always need more of the plant doctors. Be finicky little things. So yeah, this is gonna be jam-packed. So I'll go through what we have, and then Tatiana, shout at me if there's anything I miss or if there's technical issues.
No worries.
We're gonna start with moving your plants outside. Then we're gonna do repotting, fertilizing, pest control, tools and resources, and any questions. If you have any questions while Tatiana and I are going through this presentation, go ahead and put them in the chat. We have some of our other content creators who will be asking or who will be answering your questions in the chat. So feel free to put them in there. And then afterwards, I'll unmute everyone and we can just have a conversation if you have any more questions. So I will kick it off with moving your plants outside. So even though we call them house plants, our plants' natural environment is outside. So you can move them outside during the spring and summer months. We have 5 tips for moving your plants outside. The first one is do not shock your plants. So you don't want to just throw your monstera outside on a Wednesday. You want to gradually start putting them outside. So we suggest over 7 to 10 days, you gradually start introducing your plant to the outside world. So maybe you start on Monday, just 2 hours in the morning, you put your plant outside, and then on Wednesday, 4 hours, Friday, 6 hours, just gradually putting your plant out there so it's not in shock when you just put it out there just the next day. The next tip is avoid direct sunlight. So a lot of our plants are tropical plants, and so their natural environment is on the forest floor, and the light that they get is from the canopy, and it's like kind of dappled light. So they're not getting a lot of that direct sunlight. There are some plants like cactuses and succulents that can take direct sunlight, but your tropical plants should probably be either like on a shaded part of your porch or in an area outside that gets some nice morning sun, but doesn't get the harsh afternoon sun. The next tip is to water more frequently. So now that your plant is outside and it's getting hotter out, it's gonna dry out quite a bit faster. So go ahead and check your plant even like 3 to 5 times, or not 3 to 5 times, like every 3 to 5 days, not 3 to 5 times a day, every 3 to 5 days, just to make sure that it isn't completely drying out. And when that first 2 inches of soil is dry, you can go ahead and water your plant again. The fourth tip is you want to make sure the temperatures are above 55 degrees Fahrenheit. If they're below 55, your plant can go into a little bit of shock. And if it's any lower, then, if they freeze, then they're obviously going to die. So wait until in the nighttime and during the daytime, the temperature is above 55 degrees before you're moving your plant outside. And the final tip is to check for sunburns. So if you see a plant that looks like this Dieffenbachia that I have right here, and it looks like it's been really drained of its color and it's kind of looks bleached out, then it probably has a sunburn. And so you'll want to probably clip that leaf and then move it to an area that's getting less direct, harsh sun. So those are the 5 tips for moving your plants outside. If you have any questions, put them in the chat and we'll be answering them. And now I'm going to hand it off to Tatiana, and she's going to go through everything repotting.
All right, everybody. So now that you learned what to do when you want to move your beautiful plants outside, let's try to see what we want to do when we actually want to put them in a nice bigger pot or freshen them up for the new season. So why should you repot your plants? So at least once a year, you should really repot your plants, because after a while, that soil that they've been sitting in gets really old and mucky and nasty. You want your soil to be nice and full of nutrients for your plants so that it can grow and prosper, get some fresh new leaves going. So my suggestion is go out to Home Depot, Target, or if you are a super plant guru, make yourself a nice little mix of soil that you know works best for your plant and start repotting. The best things to look for when you're repotting is to make sure that you don't compact your soil too much, because that hinders your plants from getting any of the nutrients from the soil, from the water for the soil, or even like if you're doing some nice fertilizing, it can't really reach the roots. So you want to make sure that you don't overstuff your plants with new soil. Then also, as you're repotting, check your plant to see if it has any bugs coming in. You already know the summer just brings bugs no matter what you do. So, pests, they love bugs, they love flowers and plants. So check it out. See if you see eggs, if you see little things crawling inside there. That's a good indicator, like, you know what? Yeah, time to change my soil. I like to take everything out, wash my roots down of my plant, if you're brave enough to do so. If not, just get the bulk of it out, get that fresh soil and, toss it on top and get some nice, you can get like neem oil to spray down to get rid of those buggies, to help your flowers and your plants to prosper, because bugs, they're really damaging. So that's like the main thing to look for. And when is it a good time to repot? Usually you can repot anytime, but the best time to do it is in the spring, summer, and fall months, because that's when your plants are really growing. They're out of that dormant stage that they're in the winter, so they have more opportunities to grow. You can still do it in the winter, but they're not really growing, so it's kind of like, you don't want to kill them. They kind of put them into a shock because they're kind of sleeping, and it's like you're waking them up when you're repotting them in the winter. So it's best to do it during the warm months. And some other good tips for repotting: just make sure when you do so, don't get a container that's too big. Like, say if your pot is a 4-inch pot, go up to a 6. You don't want to go up to like a 10 or a 20, because when you do that, that actually hurts the plant. Say you're trying to water your plant, none of that water is getting to your plant. It's just getting soaked up by the soil. And I feel like by the time it gets to the roots, it's already halfway dried up. So try to get a pot that's just one size up so that your plants can get some nutrients from the fertilizer or water that you're using, because anything bigger than what it is already in is just not going to work. And that also brings me over to our next slide of different pots you can use. All right. So these are like the top main ones out there. You have ceramic pots, you have terracotta pots, and then you have plastic. The plastic ones, most of the time you see them when you go to a nursery store or like Target or Home Depot when they sell their plants during those seasons. It's those nursery ones. Those are like the main plastic ones, but you can get some other high quality plastic ones. These are good for beginners who are trying to get started. And I recommend using plastic containers, or you can even use containers. I know people that like to use like little things they find and what you call that, upcycle
Yeah.
because that's also a good idea, but you always got to make sure it has proper drainage as well. But for plastic containers, that's good for plants that love moisture, like some pothos. Those love moisture, so that's good for those type of plants. For like a snake plant or some succulents, that's not really a good idea, because they love to be dry. They hate being in soaking wet soil, so that's not good for a succulent or any kind of dry desert plant. Something like a terracotta, that would be good for a succulent or any kind of drought tolerant plant. A terracotta is like a raw clay pot. So with those, that sucks up a lot of water. So you would have to water your plant extra if you want to use a terracotta plant. You have to be careful if you put something in there that good and well loves moisture, because by the end of the week, your plant is going to be suffering. So what I like to do is I like to monitor it, keep checking it out. And also what I've learned not too long ago, say you love terracotta plots and you just want your plant in it, but most of your plants usually die in these kind of containers. you can actually get like a nice, let's say you have a 6-inch plastic container, get you an 8-inch terracotta pot and put that plastic one in there and you're good to go. So, you can still have that terracotta plant, but your plant is actually resting in a plastic. So it still gives that illusion that you're using a terracotta plant. Pot. So that's pretty good. Ceramics, I love those. You can use that with any plant, to be honest. It works for everything. The only issue I've learned from trial and error with ceramic pots, they hold in so much heat or they hold in so much cold during the seasons that it shocks my plants. I've learned that I cannot use ceramics on my cactus plants. It just killed them immediately. If it was like by a breezy window, it just sucked in all that cold air and all my succulents would just die if they were in a ceramic pot. So for these, I try to be careful. I put a kind of plant that doesn't really need direct sunlight. Those are the kind of plants I put in these, so I can put it near like a coffee table where the temperature is regulated and it's not shifting back and forth from heat to sun. So that's why those, for me, I'm pretty funny with those, but I still love them. Any questions, throw them in the chat. We're all here to help. All right, now it's up to you, Liz.
When you were talking about the pots too, we had an upcycled planter challenge a while back, and I remember someone did it theirs in like an old guitar. It was really cool, but I don't know if it had proper drainage, but
that's what I'm thinking.
Cool. Yeah. Okay, so fertilizing. We get a lot of questions about just what to do with fertilizing and why we fertilize our plants. Like what Tatiana was saying is that, as the plant is growing, it's sucking up the nutrients from the soil. So we kind of want to give them like their daily vitamin basically and put fertilizer in the soil so that they can have that nutrients. So most fertilizer, it's made up of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Nitrogen promotes growth. Phosphorus is for the roots and flowers, and potassium is for resistance and hardiness. And you can actually make your own natural fertilizers of each of these. I've done it before. Nitrogen, you can do coffee grounds in water. Phosphorus, eggshells, and potassium, like a banana in water, and water your plants with that. If you have more questions on that, you can put it in the chat. And you're going to want to fertilize during the spring, summer, and fall months. So when the days start to get longer, and your plant is coming out of that dormant period, you'll want to start fertilizing. So in the spring, we suggest fertilizing on a monthly basis. And then once you're in the hotter summer months, you can start fertilizing on a bi-weekly basis. And the fertilizer that I like to use is a liquid fertilizer. And I'll shout out like the fertilizer that we have on cellular plants is the 20-20-20 fertilizer, which is the one that I usually use. Tatiana, you said you use a liquid one, right, as well?
Yeah. I love liquid. It's less messy, it's less complicated, especially if you're not really too familiar on what needs to be good enough for your plants. Stick to liquid and you're good to go.
Yeah, so that's one I'll use. So I'll just put it in my pot or my watering can, the amount, like about half the amount that it suggests, and then I'll water my plants with the liquid fertilizer in the water. Some tips for fertilizing. Look up the fertilizing needs for your specific plant just to make sure that you're not over fertilizing them. Dilute the fertilizer more than the directions say. I've had some sad experiences where I've over fertilized the plant and it ends up burning them and killing them. So you can over fertilize the plant and kill it. You can never really under fertilize it. So err on the side of caution and split it maybe in half of what the directions say and start from there when you're fertilizing your plant. If you have a plant that's super dried out, so you haven't, maybe you forgot to water it, you went on vacation and you come back, water the plant first, and then maybe the next week fertilize it, because you don't want to fertilize a plant that's super thirsty because it's just going to suck up that fertilizer and it could potentially burn it. Another tip for this is to fertilize a couple weeks after repotting your plant. So you follow Tatiana's repotting instructions, and then the plant, when you repot it, its roots are still pretty bare, like it hasn't really gotten settled in the pot. And so if you fertilize then again, the roots are just a little bit more exposed. So wait a couple of weeks after repotting to actually, go ahead and fertilize your pot or fertilize your plant. So that's it for fertilizing. If you have more questions, put them in the chat.
And I have one more little tip actually.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So when you are fertilizing, another good suggestion, if you live in an area where your tap water is kind of harsh, try using some distilled water as well, because you never know if your plant is a really funny one and just cannot tolerate it, it's also good to practice using distilled water. That's like a sure bet that your plant's going to thrive when you're fertilizing too.
Yeah, that's a good point.
All right, so now that you're fertilizing, your plant is growing, looking good. You're like, all right, look at my baby. And next thing you know, you're like, oh, goodness gracious, these bugs, here they come. So these are the top 4. There's a lot of them, but these are the top 4 that I've always seen from day one. You have fungus gnats, which are kind of basically like fruit flies. They're different, but they look the same. They all do the same thing, destroy your plants. Then you have brown scales, mealybugs, and spider mites. So what do they all have in common? They basically eat your plant. The mealybugs and the brown scales, those are like the top most annoying ones for me. They sit there and suck all the juices out of your plants. They hide under the leaves. They hide under the like if you have one of those nice big ficuses, they'll hide right up underneath there in the cracks and the crevices. You're not really paying attention. At least with the mealybugs, you're able to see them because they're white and fuzzy and ugly. So it's really easy to catch them. The brown scales, they're really hard to really pinpoint because, as our plants age, they start getting those little brown spots here and there, or, they dry out a little bit. So they have those brown spots. So they're really hard to really get to. Like, you're not really paying attention. You could fly right past it. So what I like to do, I'm a little crazy. I'll get me a nice flashlight. I'll get a Q-tip and I will be poking those little things away. If I see something shaking and grooving, I'm like, oh, that's it. I'm get some alcohol, rubbing alcohol, dab it on that Q-tip, and that's the best, safest way to get those suckers right off your plant. Pluck them off, wipe your plants down. If you want to get like a rag with some soap and water, wipe it down, clean it off. If you see like it's a really bad infestation, if you want, you could take it in the bathroom or somewhere isolated from your other plants and just wipe it down, spray it up, get them suckers off. So with these two, it's not too bad when you get a little infestation with these because they don't really hop from plant to plant. They're not super mobile. Now, when you have the gnats and the spider mites, that's when you're gonna have trouble. Everyone knows fruit flies and gnats, they fly everywhere, so they can hop from plant to plant in a second. So with those, we recommend keeping your eyes out for it and get all kinds of, I'm gonna show you in the next slide what we got for you guys to use to help get rid of those little gnats. Spider mites, they're kind of hard to pinpoint as well, or I just can't see because I don't really see them too well. The main way, they're so small, I sometimes I fly right past them. The main way I find those is they actually make little webs. I don't know if it's just me. I'll find little webs between my my stem and the flower, and I'll be like, where are these coming from? Like, okay, these suckers are in here somewhere and they're going down. So that's when it takes you to the next slide of how I do my little pest controlling. All right, bugs are on my plant. How do I get rid of them? So what I like to do, first thing when I come in, because like I told y'all, I'm crazy, I like to inspect my plants the minute I get home, because while you're at work or shopping or even on vacation, you never know if you have a cracked window or something, bugs get in. No matter what you try to do, bugs get in. So I like to inspect my plants, check them out. If I see there's a lot going on, I like to change my soil. That's my number one recommendation. If you feel like you can't control it, it's just too much for you, just get fresh soil. I like to take my plant gently now, clean off all that old soil or infected soil, wash it down, even wash the plant itself. If you want to have a hose, not a strong hose, but like a nice gentle one, or if you have a shower with the little hose that come off, spray them down to get them off the plant itself, get it off the roots, so that it's like a fresh start basically with your plants. You can do that. Now, how often do I inspect it? I told you guys every day. During the summer months is very, very necessary to do it every day, because the more you clean them and get them away, the more they come back. During the winter, it's not so bad because bugs are not really out in the winter. They're not out and about. So now, what if you see that you are just like absolutely infested? Like no matter what you do, they just keep coming and coming and coming. One main reason for that, they may have laid eggs all up in your soil. So what you need to do is, that's when I like to isolate that plant, put it somewhere in the corner, do whatever you got to do. It just got to get away. Once I do that, I do like to go back to my other plants, see whichever else may be infected, and let that join the timeout corner and see, you know, how I can fix that up. So when I do that, I like to, like I was saying before, change out the soil, inspect it, look for everything, see what kind of bugs I'm dealing with so I know how to move going forward. I'll get some neem oil. I'll get some fly traps. I'll do everything I can to just be like, okay, that's it. This gotta go. Last resort. I don't recommend it, but I know people who've done it. I've done it when I first started. I put the plant outside and I put a sign on it that says free 99. Somebody else deal with it. If it's that bad and you can't handle it, you want to give it away to somebody you feel can control it, that's last resort. But if you love your plants and you're dedicated, just change out that soil, check for eggs, check for everything, and get them out of there. And that takes us to our other slide where you can get some products to help you out. All right, tools and resources. So you want to get started, you want to get some pests out of there. What can I use? So my favorite, and I know most plant parents' favorites, are those nice little yellow sticky traps. You all know bugs love bright, shiny, yellowy, no matter what color, they just love it. You get those, you stick those in your plants, give it like a day or two. I'm telling you, it's going to be full of them. So try to order a lot. I like to go to Amazon. You know, Amazon got things decent price, ranging from like $6 to $10. I found them not too bad. I like to get 2 or 3 packs because in the summer months, those things get filled up with bugs really quick. And another good one too for reinforcement, those electric fly traps. Those are really good too. You can sit that right in the side of your plants, like if you have a nice little cluster of plants, put that right in the middle. And especially at nighttime, they work well because they have the UV lights. So you could put that in there, and then by the morning you check it. I'm telling you, it's gonna be a nice amount of bugs in there. And it's also helpful for the mosquitoes and things that come into your home. That's good for those too. I like to get neem oil spray. They have it as a already pre-made or as a concentrate. I'm pretty good with my plants, and for me, I don't use concentrate because, like what me and Liv is saying, it's a lot to deal with trying to get the measurements right, because you can burn your plant with this too. You think you're helping them and you're destroying them because you're not using the right measurements and overpowering it with the neem oil. So neem oil is really good. It's a natural substance. You can spray it on your vegetables, on your plants. It will not kill them. But of course, if you use too much of anything is harmful. So that's why I like to just stick with the pre-made ones. So that's on Amazon as well. This is my favorite one here. You can also go to Home Depot. They have it as well. They just about $10 for it. Nice hefty amount. You'll do good. So what I like to do with this, I spray the soil, I spray my plants itself. But what I will say is not really effective on like eggs, because you know the bugs are in the eggs, so it's not really going to attack the bugs then. So that's when the stickies come into play, because when they hatch and they grow their little wings and start flying, boom, right on that trap it goes, and you know that helps solve a little bit of it. So now that you're getting that under control, or your pest issues, now you want to focus on your plant health. What can I do to make sure I am keeping up with the plant and its health and watering? My favorite thing is a water meter, the moisture meter. Say you done watered it on Sunday and by Tuesday you cannot remember. Like me, I have like 50 plants. You can't remember which one you done watered on Sunday. So what I like to do is take my my moisture meter, I'll stick it in my plants, see, so it has a nice gauge on it from blue to red. So when it's in the top blue, that means it's actually kind of too much water. It's kind of too soggy. So that, like, okay, let me leave it alone. If it's in the green portion, you know it's perfectly watered. It doesn't need anything. Leave her alone. If it's in the red zone, oh, time for watering. Let's go. And when you're using these, I've learned through trial and error, don't leave them stuck in the plant. I left it stuck in the plant once. fell asleep, woke up, went about my day, went about my week. And then when I pulled it out, it actually rusted. And then my plant died because it was getting contaminated from the rust that came from the moisture meter. So that was my big mistake. So when you finish using it, take it out the soil, wipe it down with a rag. So, also that's another thing. When you're sticking it in the soil, you may unfortunately have an infested plant that you stuck it in. And now if you didn't clean it off and you stick it in another plant, now you just infected that plant because it could be eggs all over it. So that's why you got to take it, wipe it down, and then move on to the next plant, because you don't want to transfer all those bacteria and bugs to the next plant. So we also have grow lights. I recommend, it's 1,000 grow lights out there, so you can choose whatever you like. I like the ones that individually stick into a certain plant. And you can say if it's a plant that's by your door, your entryway, and it doesn't really get light, those are perfect for those. I like those. Most of my plants are in the window area, so I don't need this. I call them the spider lamp ones, where it goes everywhere. I really don't need those because all my plants are in the window. So, but if you don't have something like that and you want all of them to get the grow light benefits, get one of those spider ones, so all your plants at one time can get it. But if you only have 1 or 2 plants that maybe you have in the bathroom or at your entryway, get the individual ones. Off Amazon as well. I found some from $10 to $20. It's great. And my favorite ones are these plant stakes. So I have a lot of plants that grow upwards, right? And after a while, they start leaning and rocking, doing the shoulder lean. So what you would want to do is get these nice stakes. They're like $5 to $10 on Amazon. I like to get the really tall ones. You get those. Be careful when you're sticking it into the soil because you don't want to, rip up the roots at the bottom. So I like to dig little holes and then stick the stakes in because I'm always scared that I'm going to damage the roots at the bottom. I'll stick those in. Sometimes I get like fisherman, what is that? The fisherman reel, the clear string. I like to use that sometimes. Fishing line, yes.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot what it was called just now. I like to use that because it's clear and I can't see it, because sometimes I used to use yarn, but sometimes it got annoying to see like pink yarn here, green yarn here.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I'll get some clear fisherman ones and I'll tie it with that. And that helps support the plant, keep them upright, keep them growing like they're supposed to. Because after a while, if it's leaning too much and the plant is so healthy that it's heavy, and you don't want it to snap in half. So it's really good to get some of these. Now, what I love the most as well is for beginners and experienced plant lovers. Get yourself a nice little gardening set. It comes with like the small little shovels or the little scoops, I like to call them. You can get big ones, small ones, because if you're trying to do those cute little tiny cactus ones, you want a nice small one. Or if you got a big monstera, get you a nice big scoop. You can get those little plant transferring mats. I just like to use my regular floor and I sweep it up. But I know everybody doesn't like to do that every time they repot. So you can get one of these, have your plants in it, do your business, and go right to your garbage or wherever you go to and dust it out. You can also get some nice plant shears. I know everyone thinks, oh, I got scissors at home, I can just use those. Same way you wouldn't use regular scissors to trim your hair, don't use regular scissors to trim your plants. Like,
that's a good point.
It's too harsh. If you wouldn't do it to your hair, don't do it to your plant. Because regular scissors would damage our hair if we try to cut it with that instead of the actual hair scissors. So you need plant shears. Those are sharp and made for plants. They're not rough. They're not gonna, give you these jagged cuttings, and you want your plants to prosper. Because if you do cut your plants, that actually promotes growth. But if you use regular scissors, that can also damage it. So you want something that's properly made for your plant. And when you're doing that, make sure you clean with alcohol or a Lysol wipe every time. Because like I always say, God forbid that stem or that leaf that you're trying to propagate is infected. You don't want to go to the next plant and give it off to that one. So I like to clean everything every time. And of course, who doesn't want a nice, clean planting area? So I don't keep everything clean. And that's also on Amazon. I saw a nice little, they got pink, they got blue, they got green. I saw Hello Kitty ones. Anything you like. I saw it from like 10 to 20 bucks. Easy peasy. And Amazon, you can do the little payment plans now. So if you want all that in your cart and it's up to $200, just hey, you're good to go. So anybody have any questions, let us know. That was our wonderful presentation, and I hope everyone enjoyed. I hope you gave you guys some good info. These are our trial and errors and what we learned from plants. So we didn't just, make this stuff up. This is all from us and our experience on being plant parents. So questions, let us know.
Yeah, go ahead and put any questions that you have in the chat and we'll answer them. If you have none, we'll move right on to the little surprise that we have here at the end.
Surprise, who does a surprise?
It's a good one. We'll give you a couple minutes. Also, it would be really helpful in the chat if you don't have questions, if you could put topics that you guys would want us to cover in future webinars.
Like if you want to see what other plants is out in the world, if you want to know what to do if your plant is suffering and no matter what you're doing, it's just like, no, I can't do this anymore. Let us know.
We have propagation. That's a good one because there's a couple different types of propagation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we could definitely do one on propagation. Any others, you can just throw them in there. But I will move on to the surprise. So we actually have our Earth Day sale that's going to start tomorrow with everyone. We're going to announce it tomorrow. And basically we're giving everyone 25% off our Earth Day collection, as well as we're going to be matching anyone's donation to One Tree Planted. We're a partner with One Tree Planted and they help with reforestation projects around the world. So we're super excited to be partnered with them. And we also have some new plants that I'm going to put in the chat that you may be interested in. So one of these has been highly sought after. We've had a lot of people ask us about this one. We have the Philodendron Painted Lady, the Philodendron Florida Green, and then the Spider Fire Flash. I know a lot of people have been interested in the Painted Lady.
Yes. So you guys make sure you get yours, because if you don't, guess what? I'm going to buy them all. So
yeah, I know. I've been looking at the Painted Lady too. I'm like, that looks pretty nice.
And
I'll throw the code in here too for all of you. Okay. Can I move that?
I'm so glad everyone came out. Thank you all for coming out as well.
Yeah, thank you all for coming. Oh, oops, I sent it to you guys again. Hold on.
Oops, we sent it again.
There you go. Okay, stop sharing. Okay. Well, we will definitely, I like the propagation idea for a future webinar, but let us know if this was helpful in the chat, because we would love to continue to do future webinars for all of you.
Give you all the tips we can give, all the info we can give. We got you guys.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Talk soon. Bye.
See you at the next webinar. Thank you all.